This audio presentation of Advaita, the truth of non-duality, in the words of SUBRAHMANYA IYER, from the posthumous collection of Paul Bruton, is brought to you by audioenlightenment.com. Copyright 2015, all rights reserved. Chapter 1, Philosophy, the art and science of inquiring into truth. Truth is completely unified knowledge. Those who say I'm teaching only Shankara's system are mistaken. We want only truth, not authorities. My doctrine and position are not based on Shankara, but on inquiry into truth. The whole of life has to be resolutely weighed and accurately observed in philosophy. We must ask, what is this world? What am I? Hence, science is a necessary foundation. Without knowing the nature of the world, it is impossible to know truth. What is the use of trying to find your inner self before you understand the world? Keen powers of observation are desirable and will help, not hinder, your pursuit of truth. Take experience as they come to you. Do not run away from the world in ecstatic fear of shyness to them. To say they are Maya, or illusion, without first examining them and inquiring into them thoroughly is to delude yourself. This world is common to all of us, therefore we must begin our inquiry with it and not flee. It is only after you have inquired into the nature of the objective world that you should inquire into who is the knower. In the old times, Vedanta was taught not by putting a pupil in a cave and telling him to sit quiet, but by taking him to a peepal tree and by breaking a seed off, showing it to the pupil, breaking it into smaller and smaller fragments, and pointed out to him the wonders of a great living tree growing out of the seed. Thus the chela, or pupil, was shown the objective world first and taught to question about it. Vedanta requires the mind to be active in order to examine the world and discriminate. Is this true? Is the beginning of philosophy. Doubt is the beginning of knowledge. Advaita goes to the very root, where there is nothing more to doubt, nothing more to question. Jnana, or knowledge of truth, cannot come if anything is left out. The whole universe must be included. The chief purpose of analyzing the external world is to discover that it is part of the ultimate reality, and thus to enable us to carry on with activity from the highest possible viewpoint. To effect this discrimination, we need an intelligence much sharper than the average, whereas too much religion and not a little mysticism drugs this intelligence. Philosophy does not tell you to give up anything, but to know all. How can anything be rejected? How can the world be renounced? Only those who delude themselves think so. Everything is Brahman and remains so. The first thing we are aware of after waking, just as the first thing in an infant's experience, is the world outside. Therefore, the first thing we ought to study is the world, not the self, to that of which we are aware, not that which is aware. The who am I formula is useful as a first stage to show the illusoriness of ego and thus help the seeker to get rid of it. This prepares him to consider the higher question. What is the world? The truth about which cannot be learned by those attached to their ego. Vedanta is the philosophy of verification. Everyone said, this is the fact. I know, this is my experience. None stops to doubt or to understand or to inquire as to what is a fact and what is a definition of experience. Vedantins take all the facts, science, religion, art, etc., and then ask of them, which is the truth? We collect as much evidence as possible, even contradictory, and then proceed to examine all of it. We are not opposed to anything but say, analyze, how far is it true? We do not know whether there is a God or not. There is no proof. If you mention God, you must prove his existence. How do you know that you are related to God? Have you seen God? That he created the world, that he manifested himself is merely supposed. It may be, but how do you know? How am I to know that what I believe is true? That question must prick the seeker. If you have a belief, it is because somebody else believes it, or the majority believes it, or it is your own experience. Is it religious authority or religious sanction, or is it based upon a feeling of certainty? Do you believe it merely because it works well, or is it true? If you ask the question of truth, it becomes a question of philosophy. Does your belief rest upon reason? The purified intellect, or buddhi, is reason. Reason is a common ground for all humanity in modern times, whereas the appeal to scriptural relation reaches only groups. The great sages of Advaita knew that one day the word would throw up scriptures, hence they provided for the appeal to reason and met the objection of skeptics in their literature no less than those of religious believers. Why do we appeal to reason and not to intuition, belief, authority, etc.? because of its universality, because all over the world and all times there is only a single rational truth, because reason is the only way to obtain worldwide agreement amongst all people, nations, groups, etc. Faith, intuition, etc. varies tremendously in its imagined doctrines. Scripture is interpreted by every man as he likes, but reason cannot vary in its truth. No assumption, no faith is needed by Vedanta, which demands thinking. People do not want to think. It is too troublesome. Why worry about philosophy, they say. They do not want to be bothered to inquire. Thinking is questioning experience. Something happens, a thing is seen or heard, and we ask, what is that? What do I see? What do I hear or feel? These some things bring a message to the mind for inquiry. Reality is only inferred. Every object presented to us brings with it a question. What is it? This is a natural condition of the mind. It wants to get at the true explanation of a thing. This is the basis of truth. Inquiry implies doubt, proof, evidence, so that even if God were to come and say that he is God, one would inquire into the truth of that statement. People are overawed by doctrines enunciated upon the authority of some famous man or institution or scripture. The one answer must be, how does he or it know? Truth must be tested. If it is true, it will survive the test and will bear proof. But everything else must inevitably find the props of pontifical authority to support it. How am I to know that this is the truth? The first test is it universally applicable? Which means, will it be true in every other part of the globe? Will it be true in 2 million years' time? Will it be true for all people who pursue inquiry to the utmost extent? What is wanted in Advaita is thinking it out for yourself all the 24 hours and not merely reading books or hearing words. The fundamental thing is to get a knowledge of truth by your own experience and reason. To say that Shankara writes the truth implies that you already know the truth and hence can certify Shankara's work. Until then, you have no right to say whether his work is true. Once truth is known, it can never be given up. You will never change your outlook again. It is utterly impossible to unite the different religions or churches together, even if such a thing were possible, which it is not. What are you going to do with the millions who are atheists or agnostics? They will not unite with the religionist. You can only say, let there be tolerance, and that will be useful work. But you cannot bring them together in a unified structure. The only way to real unity is the search for truth. For social purposes, a religion is needed because it unites a body of people, bringing them together in a common fold. Hence, it is useful as a value. People, however, erroneously confuse social value with ultimate truth, for they jump to the conclusion that because it is useful in keeping people moral, for instance, a religion is therefore true. Religion is essential for bringing up children in the way of good life. Therefore we say, do not quarrel with religion. It has its valuable place for those whom it alone can help, who cannot even rise to the stage of mysticism. Those that criticize religion are quite correct as far as they themselves are concerned, but they are wrong where the world at large is concerned. It should not be taken away. To say the world can get on without religion is foolish. The Western world is giving up religion. That is inevitable owing to the decay of religious organizations, but their mistake is to rest satisfied with such a negative inner life and not to aspire to something higher than religion after giving it up. Men are divided into 3 classes of intelligence. Those with lowest are given religion. Those in the intermediate are given yoga. Those in the highest are taught truth. We do not say religion and yoga are bad, but only that they are steps, not the highest level. People's minds have a natural tendency to run in various directions through pressure of attachment, environment, upbringing, etc. Hence, to retreat into a solitary place for yoga is good for them to stop this tendency, to get concentration. After that, they should take up vichara, inquiry, and not remain in yoga. This is the order. Yoga first, next inquiry. To keep the mind unconfused and unconfounded by other thoughts than those pertaining to the theme selected for concentration, this is the principle and virtue of yoga. Vedanta does not say that yoga has no value. Everything in this world has its value, but that it is not the highest permanent value. The body is valuable. It must be preserved and not ill-treated by asceticism, for it is our instrument of living. And whilst alive, we know that we can reflect about truth. What happens after death, what opportunity to learn truth is there, we do not know. Truth is the object set before all human beings as the purpose of their lives. Hence we must care for the body, keep it alive, and avoid death. The facts of Vedanta are open to all, but the individual capacity to understand them will naturally vary. This is the only esotericism of Vedanta. Vedanta says truth is reached by stages. Hence, there is one version for children, another for the more advanced. It is not a question of esoteric, but of capacity to receive truth fit for one stage. Hence, it reconciles all versions while pointing to the highest goal. Indian philosophy gives a connecting link from primitive religion to the highest truth, knowing which nothing remains to be known. First, find out what stage a man is in. Does he want merely to get on in life? If so, prescribe religion. Does he want peace? Then prescribe yoga. Or does he want truth? Then alone should you initiate him into philosophy. You must not yourself instill doubts in the mind of others. These doubts must arise of their own accord, and only then may you answer them. To unsettle a satisfied mind is to lead it into bewilderment, with probable immorality as a consequence. Philosophy is a search for truth. It is not opinion, not speculation, but reality which is verified by appealing to life as a whole. Truth is the most important problem in philosophy. So what is the test of truth? The first test is its universality, as 2 + 2 makes 4. The second test is that truth is beyond all possibility of contradiction. Philosophers do not or cannot define truth. They may have many systems or theories, therefore any definition which they do give will not be acceptable to other schools and will be contradicted by them. Therefore we say that, first, an uncontradictable definition of truth must be found before you can proceed. I agree with you that the use of technical metaphysical language is not essential and is partly responsible for the metaphysicians losing themselves in a forest of words, as Shankara says. Vedanta can be explained in simple terms. There is only one word students really have to learn the meaning of. That is the word truth. The word verify and validity are two of the most difficult in philosophy. Every man may use them, but none knows what he is doing, for they imply the whole problem of what is truth. Philosophy is not the totalitization, but the general interpretation of experience. Philosophy is not making various theories about the absolute, nor hair-splitting of words, nor imagining things. It is directed towards life and has the highest value in weighing life properly. We need all phases of human thought and belief to help us if we want a complete answer to the problem of human life. Philosophy is all-comprehensive, assigns a place for everything, and thus supplies this answer. It serves the whole. If you exclude religion, you have no philosophy. If you take only religion, if you view life from a particular standpoint, again, you have no philosophy. Science is true so far as the world of science is concerned. Yoga is true so far as I sit quiet in meditation. The yogi's experiences are not lies, but truly described. All these are, however, only relative truth, true only from a certain narrow point of view. They come and go, they contradict each other, whereas we seek the supreme truth which is higher than all these, which is uncontradictable and does not conflict with anything else. It is inevitable that thoughtful people will have to come to the position which recognizes the twofold viewpoint, the immediate, vyavaharic, and the ultimate, paramarthic, for you cannot get absolute truth in this world. Time does not permit of proving every detail, hence we have to use belief to a large extent. Hence the practical viewpoint is necessary for active life. It is the only possible one. But when you come to philosophy, then it is too defective and we must adopt the ultimate view. Philosophy wants to understand the world as much as it was 1,000,000 years ago as it is now. That is, it does not depend on and is unaffected by personality, the coming and going of avatars, divine incarnations. That belongs to religion. Nor does it deal with the next world. It can only deal with the world in which we live. It studies truth irrespective of time or epoch or locality. The name system of Advaita should not be used because it is incorrect. All systems are ours because there is no contradiction in our view. The Advaitin feels that there is no clash with others. He quarrels with none. He sees all their points of view. Our religion is truth. Our philosophy is truth. Call it search for truth and leave out names. Our position is not agnosticism nor atheism. It transcends both. An Advaitin prefers not to state this case, but to let opponents do it first and then let him cross-examine them and expose their fallacies. By showing that all other doctrines are erroneous, he reveals that Advaita is left as the only alternative. If you view a subject from your own standpoint alone, or from one technical standpoint only, you cannot view it rightly. Philosophy is the interpretation of the whole. Is it possible to get knowledge of the all? Vedanta says yes, not in its details, but in a sense of knowing its essence. This philosophy is not mine, is not Shankara's, is not anyone's, hence it cannot be labeled. It has come down to us from time immemorial. Who originally taught it, it is unknown.